Hi everyone, I'm sorry the video didn't go up yesterday, but we had an internet outage, as we do sometimes. Oh jinglies, hang on, I've got the rooster going after me here, excuse me. Anyway, I've got the video finally made. It turned out much longer than I expected it to. I've put 3 paintings in there and I've completed one. So hopefully you'll enjoy today's video and keep an eye out for the next one. See ya. We're back for day 6 of my 30-day watercolor challenge, and this is what I've done so far. Look, this, and this. That's 5. And today I intend on doing a beach scene. I've had a couple of requests for beach scenes, and one with a dolphin and a couple of other general ones, and I do appreciate your requests. They're great. They're really helping me to get focused. But before we do the dolphin one, let's make 2, because while we're doing the wash, we may as well do a vertical one and a horizontal one, because it doesn't take much longer to do that. And I guess this is all part of me showing you how to, maybe even do a little bit of batching, which I'm sure you know about. I was thinking about some images in the past, and one of them that was not a watercolor, it was an oil, is this one. And this was not the painting, it was an underpainting for what I put in later on. But I really liked this idea of having very distinctive, bands of colour change, as opposed to something like this where we're just going down from in a graded wash. This is what we did in this one, where I got a bit lost here, so I just lobbed a great big bunch of clouds in. That's just a bit more dramatic. So I'm really thinking that this has got really dynamic colour because it is in oil, but I can do that with watercolour if I just ramp things up a little bit. So I thought I'd do that for the vertical one and just do a more sort of classic seascape with a more graded wash for the horizontal one. So the first thing we better do is get started. I've set up another camera today on the side just to give just a bit of a different angle now and again. All it does is make the editing more complicated. I'm struggling to get this all done in one day, the filming and the editing, because I do a lot of mistakes. Anyway, let's get cracking. We've got our trusty blue, which is already mixed up, so I'm going to start with that in the sky. And I feel like I would rather use a bit bigger brush, but we'll just stay with this. Now, the way I was doing things before was I was wetting the paper down just a little bit. I just put a tiny spray on that, and it's got a bit of paint on it, but just wiping it over so that it's spread out all over the page. So it's just very gently damp, not soaking wet. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start at the top, and I better think about where my horizon's going to go before I get started. So this is going to be a graded one. I think perhaps with this one, I'll take the sky to just below the middle section there. All right, here we go. Now you already know this. Oh gee, that paper is not really very wet at all. Oh well, here we go, keep going. So all I am doing is dropping the brush back in here, and the paper is actually almost dry, so that's okay. You can see how it works just as well. It's a bit light there. Using this brush, which is skinny, is not my favourite process, but I'll go back in with some stronger mix. Oh, look at that, I'm really bunching it up. Just drop it out a bit in the water. Okay, wipe it off. The idea is to grab those problems before they go too far. Wipe it out a bit, and then down we go. And I'm probably that is quite a strong wash, but that's okay. Right, now a lot of my beach scenes would have a clear horizon, so on this one, let's give a clear horizon. So I'm just tipping that up to get the graded wash, which, as I said, my paper was a little dry. So let's hit it with the dryer to see if we can move it around and get it looking just right. I'm not going to go down in history books as getting that to be a beautiful grade. Need to flatten it out. All right, let's proceed into the ocean and then into the sands. This is going to be a very fast transition. I've got the greens from the other day. This was a turquoise colour mixed with phthalo green and phthalo blue. And then I moved that into a little bit more on the olivey green side on this section here. So I think I might put that into the back. Let's just see. I'm thinking that the sea, I mean, it depends what kind of a day it is, but I want the back of the sea to be quite intense up against the skyline, mixing a bit of that more olivey green with the phthalo. And I am not going to make that same mistake. So I'm going to wet this front part because I want this to grade really nicely. Just like that. Okay. This time I think I've got a bit more water on it. Okay, let's go. Because I've got a straight edge, I'm never going to be straight because I'm not a straight, well, I am a straight person, but I'm sort of upright. Okay, let's go. Something like that. Ooh, gee. I think we could definitely a bit bent. I didn't draw a line. Okay, I don't care. There we go. Now we need to work pretty fast, so we've got to bring that down. So wet or wash out my brush a bit and come down. Oops, we need a bit more in there. A bit more to work with. Right. Now I'm keeping the strengths back there. I'm not putting much in here at all. So I want it to really quickly transition. And it's a little bit more on the green side than the turquoise side. Now we've got to come into the beach part. So the water would start to go a little bit greener. So putting a little bit of raw sienna into this part here, into the raw sienna on my palette, just a little bit, not too much. And a tiny bit of red gold, bringing that into there, and then down into a bit stronger. Just meeting it from the bottom, probably more the sienna than the red gold, because the red gold's just too orangey. There we go. All right, so that's very insipid, if I do say so myself. Why don't we make it a bit more dramatic? Well, we've got the idea. Right, let's go back in with our green. All right, we'll just take a stab and make it a bit stronger. Let's go. Oh, that's a bit more dramatic. It's getting all bumpy too. And then perhaps we'll make it a bit more dramatic down the bottom. Perhaps a touch of gold. Oop, there we go. Thing is about washes is it's just practice, and if you just do that over and over and over on scrap paper, you will get it right. Okay, that'll do. Let me just dry that off. That's one of our, I guess you could say, templates. Let's move straight in. And I was just thinking a minute ago that what I might do, because I'm a nut job, is I'm going to, after I do this one, I'm going to do another one. Yes, I am. And I'm not going to finish all these today. I'm only going to finish one today, okay? But I'm going to make another one with a different composition of the ocean. So while we've got it all rolling, we might as well. Okay, so let's just get this one, which I said, and I promise I'll stick with that. Right, okay. Here we go with our formula. Now, before I start, though, let me make a decision. So this is going to be thirds, right? So we're going to have, it looks like, oh, not really. So that's about halfway. If we follow that, that transition happens, and that's okay because then there's the clouds. All right, so we'll stick with that, even though we don't like halfies. So I'm just going to make myself a little light mark for once so I can remember where I'm at. There it is. The clouds are going to be here. Now, I wouldn't normally do that because of the half thing, but because there's all these different elements, it should be fine. And I think we're going to have to make a sort of a transition between the clouds and the sea. So I will just wet this one a bit more this time and make sure that it does have some floaty power between the different colours. Start with the easy, and you could change your blues, by the way. So let's go up here, and I'm going to follow that really intense design on the one I have above and keep the blue really intense. And it should back off a little bit as it comes into the cloud. Oh, actually, you know, I probably should dry it at that, because if we're going to have the clouds in front of it, all right, we can come back to that. We can carry on and do the drying afterwards, and when we put the clouds on. Silly using this little brush. One swipe of the big one would actually do this, but it'll just suck all the paint up. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go in with the white, and then I'll come back and reinforce it. Just come in and just give myself a bit of a clue as to where that's all going to be. Okay, we can come back and do more with it. Okay, and then I want to have my horizon hit that very carefully, so that could all get lost in there. You know what, I'm going to dry it now. That doesn't look too bad at all. We will go back to those clouds, but let's just get into the water. So start up the back, and I'll make this quite intense. This is not the same type of blue. I've got this cobalt turquoise and turquoise gouache, so I might try using a bit of those, because they're a bit more, you know, bright and candy sort of colour. Let's go, we'll just pop them in. They're going to have a different effect to watercolour though, but it's a bit closer to the colour in that picture, not quite 100%, that lovely glow. So go back in, go over that, but I do need to pull it down. The trouble with using a gouache in the water is if I put anything in the water, then you are going to sort of stir up the white in the gouache. Oh, this brush is just pathetically small. I need like a big mop, a bigger mop brush, like this, but about like a 16 or something. All right, so I'm just going to pull the water down like that, because it's getting dry again. And then I'll go back in here and do some more work. I'll go back into the dark. Just building up the layers. And then cobalt. And I'll start to bring in a bit of the sienna from the bottom, a bit of white. And then bring it down. We haven't got as much water in this one. A bit of texture in the bottom, a few footprints and things. When we put them in when they're wet, they just become more like sort of shadows. Not too much, because as you go away, the detail will be less. I mean, you can actually probably run a few wave edges or something in there, but just be careful, because it'll start to look a bit naff. Just a tiny bit like that. Depends on the effect you're trying to get. All right, I'm going to dry. So we've got to do the clouds now and get them right, and that'll allow me to fix this horizon. So I'll turn it around so I can kind of, you know, balance myself out. And if I'm thinking about clouds on the horizon, they might be a bit darker down the bottom. So I'll probably mix up a bit of sepia with a bit of ultramarine blue to just make a grey sort of mix. I don't want it to be too strong. And let's go, well, that's quite strong, but we'll just take a chance. Put it on the edge. It'll stir up a bit of the dark paint underneath, but don't worry too much. A bit of the sea goes into the sky. Oh, there it goes. You can always come back up on that and fix that from the other end, but you'll be there for 10 years doing that back and forwards. All right, so I'm going to lift it up into the rest of the picture a bit, and then I can come back around. Oh yeah, look at that, that's nice. It looks like it should look. And then I'm going to come back with these sun-kissed clouds from the top. Need a bit more water. Whoa. Push them up like we discussed before, where you don't put too much paint there. That's more sort of water, and you can push up out of the base, and you get a lovely, lovely swirly look. Wash that off properly, and then come back in and just sort of blend it a little bit. But keep a bit of swirly stuff going on there so it looks like there's some action. And if you want to keep going with that, you could put just a tiny, tiny, tiny dash of gold into the white, but so small, and kiss it up the top, because that's too much. You have to be careful. It's just turning into yellow clouds like I'm doing there. But what it does is it just puts that little bit of sort of sunny look on the top. I'm getting a bit terrible here, so I'm just being too sharp. There we go. Too sharp. Okay, that'll do. All right, I better dry that. If I want to fix the horizon, and it's really bad, and I'm terrible at straight lines, as you already know, I can go in with a little bit of the green again, and I'm just going to have to get down so my head might get in the way, and just come back again on that line, and just do that. The best way would be to kind of blend it into the base a little bit, which we just didn't do at the start, so because it would sort of disappear a bit into that cloud on a day like that. So that's not totally how I would like it to be. So if you look at this, the horizon kind of blends in. Oh, it's crooked too. Never mind, let's see if I can do that. Wash my brush totally. And let's see, so I'm going to straddle both, the bottom and the top. And okay, it looks like I'm mucking it up, doesn't it? Well, it might be. Just don't fear, we'll be there, we'll get there. Right, go back down. Just takes time. If you lose something, you can recover it. Now I'm going to go back in with the grey again. And if it starts to go all haywire, just dry it and just keep going, because it only gets really out of whack if you don't give yourself a little drying in between. Okay. And now what we need is, this is a bit inferior here now, so I just need a bit of intense paint, which I could make a mess of, but it might jump up too high into the cloud. Let's see. Put that there, so it's just very gently blending in. As I said, I'm not a straight shooter. Well, I am actually a straight shooter with a rifle, but not with a brush. Okay. There we go. Now that's getting better. All right. Dry quickly. So you go back and forwards until you're happy with that. It's still not quite right. Sometimes the horizon's not straight. I don't trust my eye sometimes. I literally got to measure it. Okay, 11. It's very close, 11. Okay, so it's only kicking up at the edge there. That's what's making it look like an illusion. Okay. I'm going to go back over this with the grey again. I think I could have just left it. That is not my best horizon there, but I'm going to leave it at this once I've done this part. Okay, let's tick it up a bit. And then put some of that grey in there, give it a bit of texture. And then one more go with the clouds. Oops, put one up there. Last one. The secret is that putting your brush on the side and not having any white down the bottom, all right? I think I'm going to leave it at that and dry it, and it'll do. Jesus, what the hell? That's enough for that. That's an example of going round and round the mulberry bush chasing your tail. If you don't get it right the first time, you can go on forever. Let's move to, I said the third one was going to be just an example of a different composition. I was just thinking about this painting that I did a long time ago, another oil, but I was only thinking of the composition. So let's just make something like this composition, because there's endless types of ways you can do a beach scene, and then we'll just work one to the end. Perhaps what I'll do is just do a tiny light outline so you can see. So we'll make the horizon about there. That would be the flat horizon, and then we'll have a bit of a sort of a cliff, you know, sort of going off like that. And then, so the cliff goes like that, and then the beach line will come sort of, we need to give ourselves enough room for something on the beach shore. So we'll just bring it around like that into the bay. Okay, and then, right, that's the setup, and of course we'll have some sort of figure here. Same rules apply, if you like, they're rules. Same crazy chaos mess I make. I might just wet the sky initially because I want that edge on the horizon. So we'll just do that first. Right, let's go with the blue. Give ourselves a very simple grade. Down. That's too much now. I need to hurry up and grade. Come on, Helen, what are you doing? All right, take it. I'm getting rid of that paint off the brush quickly. And there we go. In order to get that to grade properly, I might need to dry it back, hit it pretty hard with the dryer. So tip it up, let the pigment distribute and go upwards. Wasn't the best grade. I'm not having a very good time with my grades this morning. Must have been something in the can of sardines I ate. All right, let's go. Bit of time to move. So if we are going to bring our shore, it's very important that I get this right. So this will have to come around very subtly. So I'm going to do the ocean now. So I'll make myself a cut off a bit more. This is going to be a bit more piecemeal. So I'm wetting that not too much. Just got to make sure that horizon is dry there. And then I'll go in with my ocean, thinking that, you know, there'd be more intensity of colour in the deep and it would sort of fade out at that point. So back to the ocean colour. Oops, okay. Thinking that, ooh, look at that. Thinking that it's going to be a lot stronger here. Exciting, isn't it? A bit dramatic. All right, I'm going to try and resist myself going crazy here. I want a bit more of that greeny green in there. Deep ocean is more, not turquoise, it's more greeny green. As in more olivey green. All right, I think we'll probably chunk that up afterwards. So the horizon, I need the horizon now. And I want that to just be a moderate. It's really based on the lovely, you know, turquoise. Oops, woo, it's gone a bit high. Turquoise broom water. Okay. Oh, honestly, I can't do a straight line to save myself today. All right, that'll do. And then you could actually have a little bit of landform, and then we'll just bring this wash into a light one as it comes round. So getting rid of all the water. This looks very messy, doesn't it? Pull that out, that water. We'll see if we can fix it up as we go. Right, now we need to do some operations. All right, so I'm going to boom that up there, maybe up towards that horizon. Right, and then a bit darker there. Oh, I did it again. What's wrong with me today? Okay, now we need to lighten it up. Go into that lovely turquoise colour. And it's really, the turquoise is just in the white paper. You can utilise that. Almost tempted to leave that exactly like it is. Right. And then what we could do is throw in a bit of white and a bit of, not too much because we can just use what's already there. But we can ease into the shoreline. A bit of white, which sort of works okay down the bottom. And then we'll ease it into the sandy colour, which might be a bit of raw sienna. Each up the end, so we need to clean that brush off. Dry for a minute. I think I'm getting a bit of a mess up the back. Now I need to bring that up here. We'll fix this up in a minute. So I might bring that cliff, the idea of the cliff across the back. Could be a city as well. And then we can sort of fix all this up. I'm only using this one size brush on this tiny little thing here, which is, well, it's probably 2 postcard size. So for the little minimalist, this is probably really easy to do, but it isn't for me. So I'm going to do a kind of a red cliff and, well, reddy brown. We'll just put in the, map it out first. I'll take it back over there, which will hide all my sins if I pretend the land keeps going. Into like a reddy, sort of a reddy brown. It's a bit dark. And I'm just trying to think of the way that cliff might even be coming around on the shore, following it around. And we'll just let it disappear off there if it's fading. You don't often have to do much with this because the watercolour, oops, I just dropped some water. Ah, oh, emergency, emergency. That's going to make a dot. Righto. But the paint almost does the job itself a lot of the time, and it's not about filling in, it's about letting it breathe. And the problems happen when we start to mangle around and muck around in it. It's almost enough. The only thing I might do is add like a bit of, I don't know, purple or something in there, like as if it was like a little ridge, purple or blue, perhaps a little bit of ultramarine. So it gives a sense of something else going on. Right. It just makes its own complex type business watercolour. That's why I love it so much. It's almost pretty good, isn't it? I mean, that's a bit messy, but if we're looking at this, and remember this was oil, yeah, well, we could fix that up a bit, which we might do next time, because this isn't the one we're doing today. But let's just whack in some ideas of waves or something in the front, or, you know, just a bit of stuff, water coming in, but not too much. Too much is too much. And it looks silly. Right, just going to put a bit more gouache in my pan, and oops, that's too much. Maybe not. You can put whatever you want. Let not me be the one to say don't. There we go. And it could just be all sort of splashing around. All right, so that could be touched up a bit like we did the clouds once it's dry. But for now, I might just leave that like it is because it's sort of moving into the finishing off of that painting. So that is another idea for a seascape. And there's 10,000 others you could do, which is good. You can sit there and practice on one after another. Now, we go back to this one, which we're going to finish today. What am I going to do here? Now, I'm not going to do the dolphin today. It makes me feel nervous. Sorry about that, but we will get to that. I will think about the dolphin. I guess that's like a dolphin, isn't it? But it's a shark. So I will come back to the dolphin. Maybe I will put the dolphin in this one, and that will be for a few days' time. In here, let's just do something really classic. What could we do? Everybody loves a dog. We could have an umbrella. Let's do a few things. So I'm going to put a bright beach umbrella in this one just to jazz it up. And anything that, the thing is, like, in terms of how you break the horizon, if I put a boat here, you know, you might want a mast that cuts through these very strong horizontal elements. But if we just put an umbrella here, it should be fine. I mean, you know, in a way it should come right up over the whole lot to bring you forward. But we might put an umbrella sticking out of the ground like that, and maybe a doggy sitting next to the umbrella. So I'm just going to start with a sort of a passive shape using a bit of like an inferior colour, like raw sienna. We'll have an umbrella. So if the element, so we have the doggy about here, we'll just have him sitting here. Okay, we'll just make a bit of a shape. I'll have him just sitting on the beach. There he goes. Very basic doggy shape. And a nice day. And then the umbrella will be like this. I can't remember. So they can sort of come down like that. I have lots of colours. There we go, something like that. And then that umbrella will be, I guess, stuck in the ground. And there's probably a person sitting under there, I imagine. So we might have a towel or something under there. All right, let's get the umbrella done. And all I want to do is have really bright colours to make it jump off the page. And if I put the bright red right next to the turquoise, that will make a big impact. Ease some light into that with just putting a bit of yellow on top. And now I might dry that before we do another section. If you're trying to get impact, just go back to your wheel again. And we know that the blue-green sea is red-orange, is the opposite. So, you know, that colour, probably a nice bright yellow, we know that works really well too. So the opposite of a really bright yellow is a blue-violet. So you can use this to put the colours next to the umbrella as well. If I put something next to that sea colour, it needs to make an impact. And it would probably be not a blue or a green, of course, because that's already in here. So I could go with a yellow-orange, I think, and then those other colours can go here. The opposite of the yellow-orange, right, is blue-violet. So then that can be this colour, etc. And then we're green or something like that. So let's put a orangey yellow right there. It's such a beautiful day today that I actually can get enough light in the studio. So it looks like spring is on its way. I'm getting an air conditioner in the studio this year so that I can work when it's boiling hot. I do have an evaporative, but it's just not good enough on a 45-degree day down here. All right, so that's good. I think I'd like a little bit more brightness when that dries in the sunny side. And we could probably do a colour here and then we can dry the two together. So right next to a red, let's have a look. That would be a green, but we'll go and have a look. So this is more red. It's definitely just a green. It's not a yellow green, it's just a straight out green. I've got this crazy middle green, which is a gouache. That'll be really bright. It's got all this juice coming out of it, so I can't get to the paint, so I have to dip into the tube. And it's not as bright as I thought it would be. Oh well, we'll do it and we'll see. We can always ramp it up. I don't really like the colour, so I'm going to go and see something else. The best green I can get is by mixing a phthalo with a yellow, because that way I'm going to get a really bright combination. So let me just grab a bit of phthalo. I should have just done that right at the start because it gives you the most beautiful, look at that, that's what we wanted. Oh, these colours are not going very well, and I can see that that needs to be much more yellow. So I will go back in and hit that with the bright, there we go, that's what I'm after. I'm looking for a nice high chroma, and gouache will get you that, because we didn't mask it, where you put the masking fluid over and then you can rub it off. You could do that too. We need to dry. And I want a blue here. Let's see what this is. It's a kind of a mixture. I know that's not the colour I want. I want a cool blue. Putting a little bit of light into it, it just gives it a feeling that it's, it's picking up light. The green is the most atrocious green. I don't know what happened there. I'm just not getting it. These are all really dull greens, but look, I'm going to go with it, and it might work because of the other bright colours. Let's just leave it at that and just brighten it up a little bit at the top. Found the right colour, Orange Lake Deep. I didn't even know I had that. That's a strange colour. But that's exactly what I was looking for. Stop! I have this feeling I want to have a little spike there, so I'll take it up. Whoop, like that. Right, that's great. All right, we need like a little stick. Let's fix this little doggy up. This is going to be a really fast little doggy. Alright, so I'm just going to do the shadow, the ghost of the dog first, which just gives me a bit of a feeling of where I'm going. Very, very fast prototype doggy here sitting. Make him white, of course, because he's always the white dog. I might put a few details in on him straight away, just to give myself a landmark on his face. It's only just a hint. He's sitting sideways, so a very, very light hint. Just about done. It gets all very fiddly, doesn't it? Tiny paintings, and this isn't a miniature painting session. These are not miniatures. Yeah, that's exactly right, Helen. And so that means that they're not meant to be little perfect cameos of narratives. All right, dry him off. He's nearly done. Just don't like his mouth. There we go, that's better. And then a little dot in his eye, because in this one I think he needs it. So I've got to be very careful with this because I always screw it up. There he goes. And a little one on his nose. All right, that's good. And a tiny bit of shadow, which I'll just use a bit of red gold to just anchor him, maybe just a tiny bit darker something. I'm just presuming the sun's somewhere up there. This is not a great technical feat here. There we go. And then the umbrella will have some sort of shadow going on, so we'll presume that that shadow is, so if we're kind of saying the sun's sort of coming sort of down from the sky, we'll just put that there. And it's for my convenience because it actually just fits nicely into the picture plane. I think it's nearly done. You could have like a ball. What about we just put a single ball here? You could have a beach towel, which would be nice. You know, a human being under there, like a little person. But honestly, I think I've already been here for over an hour. So let me just put a ball there. And I'm going to use a bit of I'll just use white. And then we can work with that. So just put a ball. It sort of counterbalances. Shadow into it on the other side, which gives it that partial realism. Is it real? Is it not? And it's sort of sitting under the umbrella, so bed the ball down a little with a little bit of a deeper shadow underneath it. Just makes it not look so flat. And you could do the yellow as well, a bit of white into the yellow. This is still very flat, isn't it? So how can we fix that monstrous colour? See if I can brighten it up a bit. And if the trouble is, if you add texture, you change what this picture actually looks like. It starts to look like a drawing, so I don't like that. I'm getting rid of it. And then it is a different thing, and it gets all bitty. So that's out. I want it to be kind of smooth. And there's nothing on the blue, so I need to fix the blue. And that will be the same treatment. Let's take a bit of white into it, and hopefully it stirs it up. Let's wet it down. Because it's foolish. Okay, that's better. I reckon that's done. What about, you could just have a few spots on the ball. No, I don't want any spots on the ball. I like that just like it is, actually. So that's a finished painting. So that's finished. I think that turned out pretty good. So what did we do today? We did the background for another painting, which we'll do later. And we did another background for another painting, which we can do later. So I think that was in under an hour. By the time I mucked around and, went through dead paints as usual. Okay, that's pretty good for a day. I hope you enjoyed that one today. I did. It turned out quite delicious, actually. A bit of a classic. Dog on the beach with an umbrella and a ball. How about that? Okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for day 7. Bye.